All right, I'm going to be going over the aspects of a good climbing anchor. This is a simple climbing anchor where you have bolts in the wall. These are bolts, these are bolt hangers, and these would be like typically rappel rings or a maillon rapide. Yeah. So what we're going to do is, for class, you will need to make this anchor and describe what you made. Meaning you're going to have to go through each one of these aspects, which I'm about to, and tell me why your anchor fits this. So first thing we've got, pretty straightforward, equalized. What that means is, we'll say the rope is going through right here, that we want equal amounts of pressure on each side. Like an example of unequal is if I go like this, and you can see this side's loose, this is tight. So we want both sides tight. We want the weight distributed between the two sides. So equalized. The next thing we're looking for is we want an angle less than 90 degrees. Meaning, I'm looking at this is like the fulcrum of the angle. This is a nice tight angle right here. If I had this way out like this, past 90 degrees, that starts to become an unsafe anchor. Then what happens, and you can think about this in like a weightlifting point of view, if I take a weight and hold it right here, it's very easy to hold it. If I change that angle, bring it up here, I have to put a lot more power into it. Same thing with our bolt points. If I'm pulling it straight down like this, nice angle, it's easy for this to hold, it's distributed between the 2 points. If I brought this way out, if I had a 100-pound weight on here, I could bring it way out, and I could have more than 100 pounds of force on the anchor point. So I want an angle less than 90 degrees. And the tighter the angle, typically the better. Next, I want it redundant. How do I make it redundant? What I'll do is I pull this tight. Now when I pull it tight, I'm anticipating where my climber is going to be coming from. They're going to be coming from right down there. So I'll take this, I'll pinch this, I pull it tight, I pinch it, and then I can pull that through like that. And how is that redundant? So if you look, like if I'm pulling on this and I take this one out, it doesn't move. If I didn't have this knot in there, I pull on this, I take it out, it shoots down like that. So by tying it off at that point, that makes it redundant. We always want redundancy, we always want more than one point of protection whenever we're climbing. Next, non-extension. What I demonstrated right there is extension. If this bolt were to come out of the wall, shoots down, that's potentially dangerous. That's shock loading the system. We want to do everything to avoid shock loading the system. Now, safe, that could be a few different things. We mostly don't have to worry about a few different aspects, but like how I approach the anchor, I'm going to be worried about. I could look at the quality of the rock that the bolt goes into. Is that safe rock? A few different aspects, but we'll more look at that when we're out in the field climbing. And then timing. You want this to be relatively quickly, done relatively quickly. Like a lot of times, like this is a 2-point simple anchor. If I made a 3-point, a 4-point anchor, it's a lot harder to balance the different pieces of it, and it can take a little extra time. Like what I want to do is, I want to start climbing. I want to get going. So I don't want to sit there, and this will happen with people with like engineering backgrounds. They just nerd out on the different forces happening and how they go about it. But I want to climb. I want to do this quickly. So another aspect of safe, so to do this properly, let me show you two more pieces of it. One is where the sling comes together is this right here. This is called the bar tack. The Bartek is just where it's sewn together. When we're creating an anchor, we want to avoid having the Bartek in one of the in the knot, basically. So what you want to do is you put it. I clipped it right up close to here, and then clip to the other side. Again, if I'm making this anchor, I pull this down tight. I pinch it off and pull this through. Now, one thing I didn't do is I didn't lock the carabiner. Anytime you put on a carabiner, you want to lock it. And you want to check it by giving it a squeeze like that. And hopefully you hear like the little click. Give it a squeeze, it's good. Give it a squeeze. And the reason why I want to squeeze it and not just twist it shut is because sometimes there could be grit in there. So when you're twisting it, it wants to stop. And you feel like, oh, it's probably good. It might not be. So like the real test is squeezing it like that. Now, I was talking about redundancy. I need where the rope goes through that the climber is on to be redundant. So I'm going to use 2 carabiners, but I don't want to just use them, like have them both attached to the rope, semi-randomly. What I want to do is have them opposite in the post. What that means is we look like this. We look at this, and they're both facing the same direction, right? The gate opens up, it's facing down, and it opens up like that. If I go like this, that's not opposite in the post. I squeeze that, and it makes, hopefully, like the little international, I don't know, do people know Ghostbusters? If you know Ghostbusters, like the international little like don't do it thing, like no smoking here, there's like a little cigarette and then slash through it. We don't want that. What we want to do is, to make this opposite in the post, I flip it around in this direction. So, and when I squeeze these open, they cross over, like that. So it's not like the little slash thing, it's, they're doing a cross. So, and what that is like, even if, as people are climbing on it, if this flips around, it's still like this is opening from the top, this is opening from the bottom. So that they have a different sort of mechanism to open. So if it's rubbing up against something and somehow it opens up, unlikely, but we want to be prepared for that. So what I will do is I make those opposite in the post, clip them in to be prepared, and then I put the rope through, and again, squeeze it to check. So the rope is going through down to the climber that way. We'll just step back a second. Equalized, equal amounts of pressure on each one. By angle, less than 90 degrees. Like redundant, because this is tied off here, if one of these were to pop out of the wall, the climber wouldn't even notice, right? Because it's redundant. Non-extension, again, because I tied this off, it's not going to slip down and extend. Safe, we'll get into that a little bit more about approaching an edge later and like how to analyze rock. Time it, it's pretty quick. I was talking the whole time. It extended the process a little bit, but yeah, relatively quick. So, equalized, angle, redundant, non-extension, safe, timer. You're gonna come to class, we'll have a chance to practice up, but make this anchor and tell me why it is a EARNEST anchor. See you soon.